There are moments in life when we meet someone and something deep within us awakens, not with noise, but with quiet recognition. It is not the eyes that first know them, nor the mind that understands them. It is the soul that whispers, "I remember you." When the energy of two souls aligns, it is not by chance. Such unions are not of this world. They are orchestrated beyond the veil of logic, by forces that speak through symbols, dreams, and deep inner knowing. These are not simply connections of affection or attraction. They are reunions of essence. This alignment does not begin at the moment of meeting. It begins long before. In the sacred inner journey, each soul must walk alone. The pain you endured, the solitude you carried, the darkness you wrestled, all were preparing you. You were not lost. You were being carved, so when the other appeared, your souls would fit together not by perfection, but by truth. When these energies meet, they do not collide, they remember, and when they remember, the world around them may try to pull them apart. But understand this: no force, no fear, no distance can undo what the universe has declared whole. Such a union is more than comfort or passion. It is an echo of the eternal. It transcends the personal and steps into the archetypal. These two are not just lovers. They are mirrors, healers, and co-creators of destiny. Their presence together sends ripples through time. Together, they awaken others. Together, they build what neither could build alone. Do not search for such a soul with desperate hands. Instead, go inward. Know your shadows. Sit with your wounds. Tend to the sacred flame within. For when your soul is aligned with itself, it will draw to it only that which is meant for its expansion. There may be trials. The world may not understand, even you may doubt, but energy speaks louder than circumstance, and when two souls are aligned, their pull is stronger than fear, louder than noise, deeper than reason. They will find each other again and again, through lifetimes if they must, until their purpose is fulfilled. So wait not in despair. Prepare in devotion. For when it is time and you stand before that soul, you will not need words. The silence between you will say, "We have come home." And from that home nothing, no storm, no lie, no force of man or fate, can keep you apart. There are truths so ancient, so deeply embedded in the architecture of the soul, that when they are awakened, they do not shout, they resonate. One such truth is this: when the energy of two souls aligns, no force in the world can keep them apart. This is not a poetic exaggeration. It is a law of the unseen. It is the magnetic pull between two energies that recognize each other across dimensions, across lifetimes. These alignments are not created by chance, nor are they bound by the normal logic of time or proximity. They are governed by something higher, the eternal flow of psyche and cosmos working in tandem. Long before two souls meet, the preparation begins. The work happens silently. Each soul is taken through a process of fire and purification. The path is often solitary, because the soul must be stripped of its illusions. It must face the mirror of the self, and in that mirror, it must learn to love the dark as much as the light. This is the sacred process of individuation. It is not simply self-awareness. It is the journey of becoming whole. Without this wholeness, the soul will continue to chase fragments in others, projecting what it refuses to face within. But when the inner marriage takes place, when the masculine and feminine within find their balance, the outer union becomes possible. Two aligned souls do not complete each other, for neither is broken. They recognize each other because they see the same flame burning. They may not share the same language or background or beliefs, but their energies speak in a dialect older than words. They feel the echo of the same wound, the weight of the same longing, the shape of the same silence. And though they may appear as two separate beings in the physical world, energetically they function as one current. There is no need for control or domination. There is only flow, and in that flow, each one becomes more of themselves. The presence of the other doesn't create dependency, it ignites purpose, because true alignment isn't about escape, it is about transformation. These souls do not come together to hide from the world, but to serve it more fully. Their union becomes a vessel through which something sacred is born, not necessarily a child, but often a work, a mission, a healing vibration that ripples outward. They challenge each other, not to break, but to grow. They hold up the mirror, not to shame, but to reveal. They do not fear the shadow in each other, because they have faced their own. And in that safety, they are free. People often ask, but what if the timing is wrong? Time, to the aligned soul, is irrelevant. What looks like delay in the physical world is often a divine orchestration in the unseen. If two souls are meant to align, the universe will conspire in silence, moving them across continents, across heartache, across ego, until they are both ready. Not perfect, but ready. They will find themselves drawn together in ways the rational mind cannot explain. This is not manipulation. This is not the pull of unmet needs. It is the call of destiny, and when that call is answered, life begins to organize itself around the alignment. Synchronicities appear, signs emerge, doors open, and even if challenges come, as they inevitably will, the bond remains untouched at the energetic level, because this kind of connection doesn't just exist in the visible, it roots itself in the soul. We live in a world obsessed with surface connections. Wipe, scroll, speak, forget. But these soul alignments are not fast, nor are they fragile. They may start with a glance, but they deepen with surrender. They require inner maturity. The alignment cannot happen if the soul is still projecting or clinging or demanding. It cannot thrive in possessiveness or fear. It is not jealous. It is not manipulative. It is not obsessed. It is present. It is awake. It is anchored in love, not attachment. And because of this, it frees both people rather than binds them. This is what makes it unstoppable. It is not built on force. It is built on truth. When two souls align, they move through the world as mirrors of the sacred. Their love is not loud, but it is felt by everyone around them. It may be misunderstood, even opposed, but the opposition only strengthens the bond because the bond is not based on approval. It is based on essence. You will know such a soul by the peace they bring, not the absence of struggle, but the presence of deep stillness in the midst of it. They make you want to become who you truly are. They don't distract you from the journey. They walk beside you in it. You do not have to explain yourself to them because they speak the same frequency. You do not have to pretend because they see behind the mask. And what they see, they do not turn away from, they embrace. This kind of connection cannot be forced. It cannot be found by chasing. It must be allowed. It must be surrendered to, because the more you try to control its timing or form, the more you push it away. It shows up when you are aligned with yourself, not when you are searching in desperation. That is the paradox. Only when you no longer need the other are you truly ready for them. Because then, and only then, can love be pure. And so, in this vast universe where energies dance and collide, where souls travel across lifetimes searching for home, know this. If your energy is meant to align with another's, nothing, not distance, not logic, not fear, not fate, can prevent it. The soul knows its way, and when it finds its counterpart, the entire cosmos nods in quiet agreement. There is an invisible law that governs the depth of our human experience, one that has nothing to do with surface appearances or physical proximity. It is a law of energy, of resonance, of soul, and it says this: when the energy of two souls aligns, no force, neither time, nor distance, nor circumstance, can keep them apart. Such a meeting is not the product of coincidence, but the result of an ancient design. Somewhere, In the architecture of the cosmos, two souls were etched to move toward each other, not as fragments seeking completion, but as mirrors reflecting the truth already blooming within. When they come into each other's orbit, it is not a matter of attraction. It is a recognition, a remembering, as if the stars themselves sigh in relief at their reunion. This alignment is not formed in a day. It is not rushed by desire or captured by longing. Before two souls can align, they must be purified. They must walk alone. The soul, like a seed, must first break open in the dark soil of solitude before it can rise toward the light of another. Life, in all its cruelty and grace, becomes the sculptor. Pain is not punishment but preparation. The wounds we carry are not flaws, they are doorways. Each heartbreak, each trial, each failure is a chisel shaping us into someone who can love without fear, someone who can receive another without needing them to fix what only we can heal. Until we have faced our own shadows, we will continue to see them in others. Until we have embraced our own wholeness, we will search for someone to rescue us from ourselves. When two people meet and their energies are truly aligned, it is not loud. It is not dramatic. It is steady. It is silent. There is a calmness between them that does not beg for explanation. They may not be able to articulate why they are drawn to each other, but they know. Something deep within knows. It is as though their souls begin to hum the same song, a melody composed long before their first breath. It is not a bond that begs for attention. It exists in the quiet places, between breaths, between glances, in the sacred space of mutual presence. This union is not about ownership. It does not demand or possess. Instead, it holds with reverence. Each person remains whole within themselves. They are not half, souls clinging to completion. They are entire worlds walking side by side, enhancing each other's light, reflecting each other's truth. They do not fear each other's independence because they have found home within. They do not ask each other to fill emptiness because that emptiness has already been transmuted into purpose. It is a mistake to think such connections are free from conflict. They are not, but the conflict is different. It does not aim to destroy, it seeks to reveal. Every challenge becomes a mirror, not of blame, but of growth. They trigger each other, yes, but not from cruelty. The triggers are invitations to heal, to dive deeper, to hold each other through the unraveling. There is no fleeing from discomfort. There is standing still in the storm, holding hands while the old parts of the self dissolve. We often talk about love as if it is something we fall into, but the love between aligned souls is not a fall, it is a rise. It elevates both individuals, lifts them into higher awareness. It awakens something dormant. They begin to dream bigger, speak clearer, and walk straighter. They begin to create not just art or ideas, but a frequency that others can feel. Their union becomes more than personal. It becomes alchemical. Through them, healing is transmitted. Their presence becomes a balm to the world. This is why aligned souls often find themselves called to something greater than themselves. Their union carries a purpose. It may be expressed through service, through creativity, through community, or simply through the energy they emit when they are together. They may not know exactly why they have met, but they feel that they have. Their lives begin to synchronize, opportunities appear, challenges soften, not because everything becomes easy, but because the resistance that once plagued them dissolves in the presence of shared clarity. When these souls meet, the past seems to collapse. All the years of waiting, all the heartbreaks and missteps, feel as though they were part of a map drawn by unseen hands. There is no bitterness, only gratitude. The suffering no longer feels meaningless. Every lonely night, every tear, every moment of doubt becomes sacred. Not one part of the journey was wasted. It all served a purpose, to bring them to the moment when their energies would align. But the world may not understand such a connection. Friends may question, society may frown, logic may argue, but the energy cannot be denied. Even if these souls are separated by continents or constrained by circumstance, the bond remains. It moves beneath words, beneath time, beneath the physical. They will dream of each other. They will feel each other's joy, each other's pain. They may try to walk away, but something will pull them back, not out of obsession, but out of a quiet knowing that this connection is not finished. People spend years trying to manufacture this kind of union, chasing it in others, clinging to the illusion of love. But such alignment cannot be hunted. It cannot be forced. It must be allowed. And to allow it, one must be willing to surrender. And not to another, but to oneself. To surrender the masks, the stories, the ego's demands. To sit in silence and let the soul speak. Because the soul always knows. It always has. And when it is finally heard, it begins to call out. Not in desperation, but in trust. And the soul it calls to will answer. Not immediately, not always in the way expected, but in time and in truth. If you are waiting for such a connection, do not despair, do not rush. Your task is not to find them, but to find yourself. To dive into your own depths, to align with your own energy, because the more you become yourself, the more you vibrate at your truest frequency, the more naturally you will draw toward you what is meant. This is not a spiritual cliché. It is an energetic law. The universe does not give us what we want. It gives us what we are ready for, and we become ready by becoming real. There is great mystery in this journey. There are no guarantees, no maps, no formulas, but there is something better, a quiet certainty that what is for you cannot miss you. And when that soul arrives, when their energy meets yours with such grace, such clarity, you will not question. You will not panic. You will recognize, you will know, and in that knowing, you will understand that love was never about finding someone to fix you. It was about finding someone to walk beside you as two flames burning brighter together than apart. There is something timeless about the meeting of two aligned souls. It cannot be measured by clocks or calendars. It does not obey the ordinary rules of space or sequence. It emerges fully formed from a place deeper than memory, like a song we've always known, though we cannot recall where we first heard it. When the energy of two souls aligns, there is no force on earth, no wall built by fear, no storm stirred by doubt that can keep them apart. This alignment is not something that is sought after in the world outside. It is forged within, in the crucible of solitude, in the dark chambers of inner reflection, and in the sacred process of becoming. Two souls cannot align if they are entangled in their projections. So many people fall in love with the idea of another, or the hope they carry, rather than the truth. They see in the other only the reflection of what is missing within themselves. But that is not alignment. That is attachment, and attachment is fragile. It depends on conditions, outcomes, control. It clings tightly because it fears loss. But aligned energy does not cling. It flows. It recognizes, it holds space. It does not grasp because it understands that what is real cannot be lost. Before souls can meet in this sacred way, they must first go through a death of the false self. The masks must fall. The old stories must crumble. The ego must be humbled, not crushed, but brought into harmony with the deeper self. This is the path of individuation, the great inner journey through which one becomes whole. It is not a path of perfection but of integration. We must meet every part of ourselves, the joyful and the broken, the hopeful and the wounded, and offer it acceptance. In doing so, we create the inner environment where true love can arrive. Not to complete us, but to meet us fully. Aligned souls are not without pain. In fact, their connection often awakens a deeper intensity than most people are prepared to face. This is not because they harm each other, but because they stir each other's unconscious. They bring to the surface all that has been hidden, They light up the shadow. They reflect back every buried wound, every forgotten dream, every unopened door. And because of this, the connection demands courage. It asks for vulnerability, honesty, and the willingness to evolve. Many run from such intensity. They are frightened by its depth. But those who walk through the fire together emerge transformed. When two souls align, they become catalysts for each other. Their presence accelerates the other's becoming. They see the potential buried beneath years of fear. They call forth the voice that has long been silent. They nourish each other's purpose, and the world begins to shift around them, not because they are trying to change it, but because they are finally aligned with who they truly are. Their energy, combined, creates a resonance that others can feel. It heals without trying, it teaches without preaching, it uplifts without effort. It is a force that moves not by command but by truth. We often think of soulmates as something soft, gentle, easy, but in truth they are often initiators. They arrive when the soul is ready to be called higher. Sometimes that calling hurts. It tears away the illusion. It strips the comfort, but it also sets the soul free. When you are in the presence of such a connection, you are no longer able to pretend. You cannot shrink. You cannot wear a mask. You are seen, not through the eyes of judgment, but through the eyes of recognition. And in that gaze, something ancient awakens, a memory, a vow, a knowing. Even if these souls are separated by time or circumstance, the bond remains. You might go years without speaking. You might live lifetimes apart, but the energy does not fade. It may go quiet. It may sleep beneath the surface. But when it is touched, even briefly, it flares back into life with a power that defies logic. Because this connection is not based on communication. It is based on essence. Two souls that are aligned remain tethered at a level beyond the physical. Their meeting in the material world is only a reflection of what has already occurred at the level of spirit. There is a peace that surrounds such unions, not the absence of difficulty, but the presence of deep trust. Even in conflict, there is a knowing that the bond is unbreakable. Even in silence, there is a sense of communion. The love is not conditional, it is not earned, it simply is. It breathes with you, it moves with you. It grows as you grow, and it reminds you again and again of who you are at your most elemental level. Not the roles you play, not the story you tell, but the soul that exists beneath it all. This kind of connection does not announce itself loudly. It does not demand to be proven. It is subtle, like a breeze that shifts the course of a river. Others may not understand. They may question it, doubt it, even try to interfere. But the energy speaks louder than words. The two who share it know. They may not know how. They may not understand why. But they know. And that knowing sustains them even through the trials of life. True soul alignment is never just about the two individuals. It always points beyond them. It calls them into service, into creativity, into contribution. The love they share becomes a source of strength, not only for themselves, but for others. Their union becomes a lighthouse, not because they try to shine, but because they cannot help it. When two aligned souls walk the earth together, their very presence becomes a prayer. They remind others what is possible. They speak a language that needs no translation. They radiate wholeness. You cannot summon such a connection through force. You cannot demand it from the universe. You can only become ready for it. And readiness is not about having everything figured out. It is about being real, being honest, being willing to do the inner work, to face the parts of yourself that are difficult to love. Because once you can hold yourself in love, you will recognize the soul that holds the same frequency. You will not need to chase them. You will meet them on the path, walking toward their own becoming. There is great beauty in this journey, but also great responsibility. When you find someone whose soul aligns with yours, honor it. Do not take it lightly. Do not treat it as common. These connections are rare, they are sacred. They are given to those who are ready to walk with open hearts and clear eyes. They are not meant to be exploited, but nurtured. They are not trophies, they are temples, and when entered with reverence, they become sanctuaries for both souls. The world will tell you many stories about love. It will sell you images. It will feed your longing. But the truth of soul alignment cannot be bought. It cannot be faked. It can only be lived, and to live it, you must be willing to wait. Not with impatience, but with faith. You must be willing to become the kind of person who can receive such a love. One who is not afraid of their own light. One who has made peace with their own darkness. One who stands in truth, even when the world offers illusion. And when you do meet them, when the energy between you aligns in that unmistakable way, you will feel it. Not in the rush of the mind, but in the stillness of the heart. You will feel the quiet certainty of home, not a place, not a person, but a presence. And in that presence, you will know, you are no longer two travelers searching in the dark. You are one light, burning in two forms. You are a force that no chaos can break, no fear can silence, no power can divide. You are aligned and therefore unstoppable. There are moments in life when something larger than the self begins to move through us, quiet, unannounced, yet utterly undeniable. It is as if some force beyond logic, beyond personal desire or timing, begins to orchestrate events with breathtaking precision. We meet someone, and in the span of a few conversations, or even in a single glance, we feel as though we are standing before something eternal, not new, but remembered, not accidental, but inevitable. This is not fantasy. It is the experience of energetic alignment between two souls, and when such alignment occurs, no external force, no doubt, no separation, no opposing current can truly keep them apart. For the bond is not forged in the material world. It is formed in the field of spirit, where all things move according to truth, not fear. The idea that two souls could share a frequency so specific, so uniquely attuned, challenges our common definitions of love. We are taught that love is built on compatibility, on mutual interests, shared goals, or convenient proximity. But energetic alignment defies all such frameworks. It does not arise from compatibility. It arises from congruence. From essence, from a resonance that can be felt but rarely explained. Two souls meet not because their personalities fit, but because their truths echo one another. Beneath the layers of identity, language, wounds, and pasts, they are made of the same sacred vibration. And when that recognition takes place, everything changes. This connection is not the product of emotional dependency or unmet childhood needs masquerading as romance. It is not born of fantasy or escapism. On the contrary, it often arrives after long periods of inner work, after both individuals have faced their pain, examined their patterns, and taken responsibility for their becoming. In other words, aligned souls find each other only when they no longer need each other to feel whole. And this is the paradox. When two people no longer seek completion from outside themselves, they are finally able to meet someone who reflects the completeness within. The journey towards such a meeting is often arduous. It is marked by solitude, shadow work, and initiations of the heart. The soul must be cleansed of illusions. The ego must soften its grip. There must be space created, space for mystery, for guidance, for something greater to enter. And so, we experience heartbreak, loss, betrayal. We watch illusions crumble and false connections dissolve, not because life is cruel, but because the path of alignment cannot be walked while carrying what does not belong to our truth. Every ending is a clearing. Every disappointment is a redirect. We are being prepared, not punished, and then it happens, without force, without strategy, without expectation. Two souls cross paths, and something within each of them pauses. It may not be dramatic, It may not look like anything from the outside, but internally the soul knows, the field shifts, a deep stillness enters the heart. It is not a rush of passion, though passion may follow. It is a calm intensity, an ancient yes, a sense that something long, dormant has awakened. This is not projection, it is not delusion, it is recognition. The beauty of this connection is not in its perfection. Aligned souls do not always agree. They do not always move in harmony, but they do move in truth. There is a fundamental willingness to show up, to see and be seen, to communicate with honesty and compassion. The connection becomes a mirror not to idealize, but to illuminate. Each person reflects to the other what is true, what is possible, what is still healing, and in this space, growth happens organically. They do not fix each other, they reveal each other. Such relationships often involve profound triggering, not because the other person is unsafe, but because they are deeply familiar. They awaken aspects of the self that have long been buried, fears, hopes, dreams, and traumas. But instead of running, both individuals lean in, they stay, they hold the container of the connection with reverence. They know that what they have touched is rare. They do not take it for granted. They understand that it is sacred work to love another soul in this way. And sacred work demands presence. This alignment also grants both individuals a sense of purpose. Their union is not an end in itself. It is a starting point. The energy created between them begins to move outward. They are inspired to create, to serve, to express more of who they are. The relationship becomes a channel for something greater. They support each other's missions not out of obligation, but from a shared devotion to truth. There is no competition, no ego-driven power struggle, only mutual recognition. I see who you are becoming, and I honor your becoming as I honor my own. Often, the outer world does not understand such a connection. Others may misinterpret it, minimize it, even judge it. But the souls involved do not need external validation. Their bond is not for display. It is not for the approval of friends or the satisfaction of societal norms. It exists in its own sacred space. It may be quiet, it may be private, but it is unmistakably real, and those who witness it, truly witness it, can feel its frequency. It changes the room, it alters the air. It creates safety, curiosity, expansion. Sometimes these connections are tested. Life may place them in different countries, different phases, or different priorities. And yet, the bond does not weaken. It transforms, but it does not disappear. Even in physical separation, the energy remains alive. Dreams may carry messages. Intuition may offer glimpses. And the sense of being fundamentally connected endures. It is a strange kind of companionship, beyond labels, beyond definitions, beyond endings. Not all aligned souls walk together in the conventional sense. Some meet only briefly. Some pass through one another's lives like comets, igniting transformation and then moving on. Others stay, they build a life together, but in all cases the connection leaves an imprint. It is not undone. It becomes a part of one's energetic signature, a reminder that even in a fragmented world, wholeness is possible. To prepare for such a connection is not to search for it. It is to become the frequency you wish to meet, to live in integrity, to speak truth, to tend to the soul's unfolding with care, to stop chasing love and start embodying it. When this becomes your way of being, you are no longer waiting for someone else to save or complete you. You are walking your path with presence and courage, and in doing so, you naturally move into alignment with those who are doing the same. When the energy of two souls aligns, the path forward may not be free of obstacles, but the love itself becomes the compass. It guides, it protects, it whispers when the mind is loud, and steadies when the heart is afraid. It does not demand, it does not coerce, it invites, it beckons, And when both souls answer that invitation, a new world opens. A world where love is not a transaction, but a transmission. Not a negotiation, but a remembering. This world is not built in a day. It is grown moment by moment, through presence, through listening, through honoring what is real. It asks for faith, not certainty. It requires openness, not control. But what it gives in return is beyond measure. A sense of being deeply met. A love that strengthens rather than drains. A connection that frees rather than binds. And most of all, the profound peace of knowing that the soul's long journey was never in vain. Because in that alignment, everything makes sense. Not in the mind, but in the heart. You look into the other's eyes, and you see not just a person, but a path, a home, a mirror, a truth. And that truth, once seen, cannot be unseen. It becomes the foundation upon which a new kind of love is built. Not the love of fantasy or fairy tales, but the love that grows in the soil of the soul. Deep, steady, eternal. There are patterns moving through life that cannot be seen by the eye or explained by logic. Currents of energy, archetypal forces, spiritual truths that shape the way we meet one another. And sometimes, in the quiet rhythm of fate, two souls align. Not because they planned it, not because they tried to make it happen, but because their energy had been calling each other long before their physical bodies ever met. Such meetings are not ordinary. They are destined, though not in a romanticized way. They are initiations, reminders from the universe that the deepest relationships are not built but remembered, not forced but allowed. The world around us is filled with distractions, with facades, with roles we are taught to play. Many people never strip away the layers to meet another soul, truly. They fall in love with images, with hopes, with stories. They seek validation, not connection. But the meeting of aligned souls cannot be staged. It is not the result of effort, but of readiness. Each soul must be willing to stand in its own truth before it can recognize the truth in another. And when that readiness is met, something profound happens. Time slows, the air shifts, you feel it, not just in your mind or your heart, but in your being. It is as if the universe breathes a silent yes. This kind of bond defies definition. It is not simply romantic, though it can hold great love. It is not limited to one form. It can be between lovers, friends, mentors, even brief encounters. What matters is the frequency. When two souls share the same energetic resonance, they activate one another. They stir the sacred. They bring clarity where there was confusion, light where there was shadow. And they often arrive in moments of personal transformation, as if sent to guide each other through the threshold between the old self and the new. The truth is that aligned souls do not complete each other. They do not rescue or fix one another. Instead, they amplify what is already whole. They see the divine potential in each other, and through their presence, they create a mirror. Not a mirror that flatters, but one that reflects honestly. They show each other the beauty and the burden, the brilliance and the unfinished work. And because of this, their connection demands courage. It is not passive. It asks for engagement, presence, and the willingness to be seen beyond personality, beyond wounds, beyond ego. Such souls often share a subtle recognition. It may not come with fireworks or dramatic revelations. It may be a quiet knowing, a feeling of safety that doesn't need to be earned, a sense of having been here before, of speaking a language without words. It can happen across a crowded room or in the simplest conversation. But once felt, it cannot be forgotten. It is not an illusion. It is not infatuation. It is the meeting of energies that have danced together before, through lifetimes, through dimensions, through archetypes deeper than time. And though this kind of meeting may feel effortless, it is never random. It is a result of inner work. One must clear the false to make space for the true. That often means walking through solitude, heartbreak, and the dismantling of illusions. It means facing the shadow, learning the language of the unconscious, and stepping beyond the conditioning of fear. Only when we are no longer afraid to be fully ourselves can we draw to us those who are ready to meet us in the same way. When such a connection forms, it becomes a sacred container, not a possession, not a claim, but a space of mutual evolution. Both individuals are changed. They are challenged to grow, to align more deeply with their authentic path. They are not there to distract each other from life, but to remind each other of why they came here. Often, their bond is catalytic. It sets things in motion. It awakens dormant gifts. It brings clarity to purpose. And sometimes, this awakening is so powerful that it cannot be sustained in conventional forms. That is why not all aligned souls remain together in the physical. Sometimes the connection is too intense. Sometimes life's timing is not aligned. Sometimes the work is done in a single season, but even when distance comes, the energy does not fade. The soul remembers. The bond remains like a thread of light connecting two hearts across any divide. It is not dependent on proximity or communication. It exists at a level deeper than form. What is important is not to cling to such connections out of fear. When the ego becomes attached to the form, it tries to control or recreate what was always meant to be fluid. But the soul knows, if the bond is real, it cannot be lost. If it is sacred, it cannot be broken by time or distance. The key is to trust the intelligence of the energy itself. If two souls are meant to walk together, life will bring them back, again and again, until the alignment has served its purpose. And if not, then the love remains as a blessing, not a loss. Often, we feel impatient with these truths. We want certainty, we want permanence, but soul alignment teaches surrender. It teaches that love is not possession, that presence is more powerful than promises, that what is true does not need to be proven. And in this space we find freedom, the freedom to love without fear, to connect without clinging, to walk beside someone without losing ourselves in the process. These relationships are not distractions from our spiritual path. They are the path. Through them, we are initiated into deeper compassion, greater self-awareness, and more authentic expression. They show us where we are still guarded, where we still need healing, where our boundaries need strengthening or softening. And they also show us our light. They reflect back the parts of ourselves we had forgotten, the laughter, the magic, the quiet joy of being seen for who we truly are. What is most profound about these connections is that they are never one-sided. When energy aligns, both souls feel it. Even if one tries to deny it, the resonance is undeniable. It is not about who feels more or who acts first. It is about what is shared at the level of spirit. There is no hierarchy, no chasing, no manipulation. There is only recognition, and with recognition comes responsibility. To honor the connection, to respect its timing, and to nurture its potential with integrity. This is not always easy. In fact, it often requires letting go of expectations. It means allowing the connection to take the form it needs, not the form we want. It means trusting that love can be real even if it doesn't look like a storybook romance. It means understanding that some of the most powerful connections are not here to give us comfort, but to wake us up. And so, the invitation is to remain open to the mystery of how two souls can find each other in a world full of noise. Open to the possibility that love is not limited to what we've known. Open to the idea that every meeting carries a message, every bond a teaching, every heartache a gift. When you stop chasing the form and start listening to the energy, you begin to align yourself with what is meant for you. You stop trying to hold on to love and you become love. There is nothing more powerful than that. When you are love, you attract love, not the kind that flatters your wounds, but the kind that speaks to your wholeness. The kind that sees your soul and says, I remember you. And in that moment of remembrance, something ancient reawakens, not just between two people, but within the world itself. Because when two souls align, the whole of existence becomes richer. And in that alignment, there is no force that can keep them apart. There are mysteries in the universe that the rational mind cannot grasp. only the soul can feel, and one of the deepest of these mysteries is the alignment of two souls. It is not something we can manufacture, demand, or control. It emerges on its own, often quietly, sometimes suddenly, always unmistakably. There is a moment when you look into another's eyes and realize that what stands before you is not merely another person, but a reflection, a familiar energy that speaks directly to the deepest parts of who you are. It does not matter how they look, where they come from, or what path they've taken. What matters is that their being speaks the same silent language your soul has been whispering all along. This is not merely about attraction, not infatuation, not romantic fantasy. It is recognition. It is the meeting of two energies that were always destined to know one another. Perhaps they have crossed paths in lifetimes before. Perhaps they agreed to meet in this one. But what is certain is that when their vibrations align, there is no worldly resistance strong enough to keep them apart. External obstacles may arise: distance, timing, circumstances, misunderstandings. But the energy does not dissipate. It continues to speak through intuition, synchronicity, dreams, and the quiet pull of the heart. It is important to understand that soul alignment is not about perfection. It is not about two flawless beings coming together in harmonious bliss. It is about two people whose souls recognize in each other the same frequency, the same hunger for truth, the same ache for meaning, the same longing for a life lived from the center of what is real. And because of this, the connection often stirs everything that is unresolved within. It brings to the surface fears, old wounds, unhealed places, not to break them, but to purify them, not to create chaos, but to bring them into alignment with their higher self. These relationships are not always easy. In fact, they often require more maturity, more awareness, and more surrender than any other form of connection. They test the ego, stretch the heart, and demand the abandonment of false narratives. Because when two aligned souls meet, they cannot hide. The connection sees through the masks. It pierces through the defenses. It demands vulnerability, honesty, and an open heart. And in return, it offers growth that no other relationship can provide. Such bonds are often magnetic, not in a superficial way, but in a deep energetic pull that keeps bringing the souls together, even when logic says they should move on. It may be subtle, it may be quiet, but it is consistent, a gentle gravity that draws them back into each other's orbit. Sometimes they resist it, sometimes they try to deny it, but the alignment doesn't disappear just because it's inconvenient. It is not based on the mind. It is based on the truth of the soul, and the soul does not lie. There is a reason these connections do not fade. They were never based on something temporary. They were born in the timeless. When the energy of two souls matches, it transcends time and space. You may not speak for months, even years, yet the bond lives on. You may move through other relationships, other phases of life, but somewhere deep inside, a part of you remains tuned to that same frequency. And if both souls are doing the work, growing, healing, aligning, the universe will create the conditions for reunion, not always as lovers, sometimes as collaborators, teachers, or mirrors. But the connection, once formed, is sacred. Many people go through life longing for this kind of connection, but are unwilling to walk the path required to receive it. They chase temporary highs, fear the stillness, avoid their shadows. But aligned souls find each other only after walking through the fire of transformation, only after saying yes to the deeper calling of their own being, only after facing the loneliness that comes before true union. Because only when we are willing to stand fully in our truth can we be met by someone who has done the same. And so, we are asked to wait, not passively but actively, to wait with intention, to refine ourselves, to shed what is not real, to stop searching for love outside of ourselves and start becoming the embodiment of it. This is not about perfection. It is about integrity, about resonance, about preparing the inner space so that when the aligned soul appears, there is room to receive them. And when they arrive, it feels like the missing piece has fallen into place, not to complete you, but to walk beside you in the fullness of your own being. In these connections, there is no need for manipulation or performance. You do not have to prove yourself or earn their love. You simply have to show up, to be seen, to listen, to allow. The energy takes care of the rest. Conversations flow with depth and ease. Silence feels safe. Eye contact holds meaning, and even in disagreement, there is respect. There is a knowing that this bond is not here to win battles, but to deepen understanding. Sometimes, aligned souls are pulled apart, not because they are wrong for each other, but because they still have individual paths to walk before they can walk together. This is not a punishment, but preparation. And even in the separation, the love does not die. It matures, it evolves. It becomes less about need and more about appreciation, less about possession and more about reverence, because true soul alignment does not demand constant presence. It simply trusts the connection, and when the time is right, if it is meant, the reunion feels effortless, no resentment, no blame, just two souls who have remembered their way back to each other, and what once was difficult becomes simple. Not because the challenges have disappeared, but because both have grown enough to hold the connection with greater wisdom. They now understand that the bond is not theirs to control, it is theirs to honor. Aligned souls are not just drawn to each other for emotional comfort. They are brought together for a purpose. Their union creates an energy that serves something greater than either of them alone. It could be the creation of art, the raising of a conscious family, the healing of ancestral wounds, or the anchoring of love in a broken world. Their relationship becomes a channel for transformation, not just for them, but for those around them. There is a power in such unions that transcends anything society teaches us about love. This power does not come from dominance, control, or attachment. It comes from presence, from mutual respect, from the shared recognition that what they hold between them is a gift. And like all sacred things, it must be nurtured with care, not taken for granted. In a world that celebrates the superficial, these relationships are revolutionary. They remind us that the deepest connections are not based on appearances, status, or convenience. They are based on energy, on truth, on divine timing, and once we've experienced such a connection, we can never again settle for less, not out of arrogance, but out of reverence. We now know what it feels like to be met at the soul level. And that knowing changes everything. These alignments are not fairy tales. They are sacred contracts, agreements between souls to help each other evolve, to mirror each other's light and darkness, to hold space for growth. And so, they come not to fulfill fantasies, but to fulfill destinies. And though the path may not always be smooth, it will always be meaningful. You don't have to chase this kind of love. You only have to align with yourself. When your soul is ready, the right energy will come. It may arrive quietly. It may surprise you. But when it does, you will know. Not because of how they make you feel, but because of who you become in their presence. You will feel more yourself, more alive, more whole, and in that space there is no fear, only truth, and truth, once revealed, cannot be unspoken, once awakened, cannot return to sleep. Once shared between two souls, cannot be undone by time, distance, or circumstance. Because when the energy of two souls aligns, the connection is not of this world. It belongs to the eternal, and the eternal never forgets its own. There are few forces in this world more powerful than the silent merging of two aligned souls. It does not come with announcement or decoration. It does not depend on effort, convenience, or calculation. It arises naturally, as if it had been written in the fabric of time itself, waiting patiently for the right moment to unfold. You cannot chase it, you cannot fake it. The energy is either there or it is not. And when it is, the entire world rearranges itself subtly, invisibly, to support the meeting of what was always meant to find one another. From the earliest myths and the deepest layers of the unconscious, this phenomenon has always been there. Humanity has long sensed that certain people come into our lives not by coincidence, but by a greater orchestration. These meetings seem to crack open reality for a moment and let the eternal in. They remind us that beneath the surface of ordinary life lies a spiritual order, and that some connections serve a far higher purpose than personal comfort or desire. These are encounters that awaken you, strip you of illusion, and call you back to the center of your being. The alignment of two souls happens beyond the physical, beyond logic, beyond even emotion. It occurs at a level that precedes thought. It is a recognition, a remembering, a resonance. You feel it in your bones, in your breath, in the spaces between words. There is no need to explain it, and often it defies explanation. You simply know. There is a stillness in their presence that doesn't require performance. You don't have to be someone else, because the energy between you only responds to what is real. And this energy does not arise from fantasy. It is not about projecting onto someone who fits your idea of perfection. It's about presence. It's about the feeling that something eternal has stepped into your life and taken a seat beside you. Often, the experience is humbling. You see yourself more clearly. You are faced with your own shadows and your own potential. The connection shines a light on everything that still needs healing, not to hurt you, but to help you rise. This is why these relationships can feel both beautiful and terrifying. You are no longer dealing with surface-level affection or conditional approval. You are standing before someone whose energy mirrors the truest parts of yourself. They see through the roles, through the walls, through the words, and they invite you to do the same, to step out from behind the persona and into the rawness of your soul. That level of intimacy requires courage. It is not for the faint-hearted, but once that alignment occurs, once the souls recognize one another, it creates a field that cannot be undone by external forces. Even if life intervenes, even if time, distance, or hardship seem to separate you, the bond remains alive. Because it was never about the form, it was always about the essence. These souls are not tethered by circumstance. They are united by purpose, by frequency, by the sacred echo of a deeper design. Often, such relationships are marked by synchronicity. Things begin to happen that defy chance. You start to see patterns. You feel as if you are being guided, not just toward each other, but toward a greater unfolding. This is because soul-aligned connections do not exist in isolation. They are part of a larger web of meaning. When two souls align, they are often meant to co-create something. A change, a healing, a shift. The energy between them is catalytic. It doesn't just transform them. It transforms everything around them. This is why these connections cannot be measured by conventional standards. They may not fit into neat categories or predictable outcomes. Sometimes they come for a moment. Sometimes they last a lifetime. But always they serve a purpose, and that purpose is rarely about satisfying the ego. It is about awakening the soul. These people come into our lives to remind us of who we really are, and who we are still becoming. And because the connection is so powerful, it can also be challenging. It will stretch you. It will ask you to let go of what no longer serves. It will not allow you to stay small, to pretend, to live half-truths. If you try to resist it, it will haunt you. If you try to force it, it will elude you. The only way to hold such a connection is to surrender, to let it evolve as it needs to trust its rhythm, to honor its depth without trying to control its direction. There is no force in the world that can destroy the alignment of two souls who are meant to meet. There may be delays, there may be detours, there may be long seasons of silence or separation, but the energy persists. It moves beneath the surface of your life like an underground river, quietly carving its path, and in moments of stillness you feel it. You feel the pull, you feel the memory, you feel the undeniable truth that something sacred was shared. These are not sentimental ideas. They are truths born of deep psychological and spiritual experience. The unconscious knows, the heart knows, the energy knows, and no matter how much you try to rationalize it, explain it away, or move on from it, the soul remembers. It is not about obsession or attachment. It is about alignment. When your soul has truly touched another, it leaves an imprint that time cannot erase. This is why the work must always begin within. Before you can align with another soul, you must first align with your own. You must face your shadows. You must dismantle the false self. You must do the inner excavation necessary to find your own truth. Only then can you recognize another who has done the same. Only then can you meet them as equals, not as seekers of completion, but as reflections of shared wholeness. The universe is not cruel. It does not give you a glimpse of something sacred just to take it away, but it does test your readiness. It does ask, are you prepared to hold something this real? Are you willing to grow in order to meet it fully? Are you brave enough to choose love not as a possession, but as a path? When the answer is yes, life begins to unfold in ways you never imagined. You become less interested in superficial connections and more devoted to what is authentic. You stop asking, will this last? And start asking, what is this here to teach me? You stop fearing endings because you understand that the soul knows no separation. And you begin to trust, not in the guarantees of the world, but in the quiet certainty of the soul. Somewhere out there, someone is vibrating on the same frequency as you. Maybe you've already met. Maybe you're preparing for each other. Maybe your energies are dancing toward convergence even now. But know this, when the time is right, you will feel it. And no force, no fear, no doubt, no delay, and stand in its way. Because when the energy of two souls aligns, it is not of this world. It is of the divine, and the divine does not fail. When the energy of two souls aligns, it is not a matter of chance. It is a sacred unfolding written in the deeper laws of the universe. No distance, no circumstance, no force of this world can separate what was always meant to be united. But this union demands more than desire. It demands truth, inner work, and surrender to the divine timing of life. Do not chase it, do not force it, become it. Align with the deepest, most authentic parts of yourself, and the soul that is meant to walk with you will find its way, not through effort, but through resonance. Because when two souls are truly aligned, their connection does not just survive, it transcends. It becomes a force of healing, of awakening, and of purpose. And that kind of love is not just rare, it is eternal.